Normally, when people think of the term superhero, a certain character pops up in their head. While I certainly can't speak for everyone, I do believe most people think of Superman, with Superman being one of the most iconic comic book characters. Many people have decided to cash in on his fame, with bigger channels like Death Battle making videos on Goku vs. Superman. And while the information they usually hand down isn't the most reliable, it's certainly better than what other individuals in this community believes. Now, as to why I am here, a specific viewer of mine has been wanting this video for a while, so here it is, man. I hope you enjoy it, and every new person should like and subscribe. Let's get started. One of the more popular debunks for DC right now is the entire cosmology capping at the 6-dimensional scale. This is quite literally stupid, as there are many statements from reliable sources within the comics saying that there are indeed infinite dimensional constructs. And from what the scan here itself says, this isn't referring to parallel worlds, as it's literally explained that there are parallel worlds and dimensions. It doesn't take a genius to realize what is being said here, and the only way people can deny this is by being biased. To make this better, however, there's other statements confirming regular universes in DC scale this high. What makes this worse is how dimensions work, however. Think about it this way. Space is 3 dimensions while time is 1. This is why space-time, or the entire timeline itself, is 4D. And something that is 3D is inaccessibly smaller than 4D. For example, if you threaten a universal construct but not the timeline itself, then you are 3D in power, and even if you gained infinite power, you would only be infinite 3D. It would not be able to reach the 4D scale. However, anything that contains a timeline in its entirety would be 5D, because it would have to be large enough to contain the dimension itself. Another thing to think about is the fact that if a universe contained a 6-dimensional construct, the timeline itself needs to be 7D to contain it. And using the logic of these debunks, DC Comics has already passed the 6-dimensional scale because of the timeline that contains the verse, and the overvoid is beyond even that. So now that we have this out of the way, let's talk about how the bleed works. The bleed is confirmed to have infinite parallel universes similar to the one that Superman lives in. Each one of these universes should have infinite dimensional constructs, making baseline universes high hyperversal and the timelines containing them low outerversal, which bare minimum puts the bleed into a layer into outerversal because it's considered a higher realm that's completely transcendental. And keep in mind, it contains an infinite amount of these dimensions that are all living in an infinite set of higher dimensions themselves, which makes the bleed arguably outerversal plus. Now to talk about what is outerversal. When I say the term outerversal, I use the commonly accepted tiering system so that most power skillers know what I'm talking about. Some people have a different opinion and describe what I said as high complex hyperversal, which is fine. I'm just using what I feel comfortable with and what the majority understands so that people know what I'm talking about here when I'm scaling Superman. So that's completely fine. Anyways, let's talk about the God Sphere now. The God Sphere is confirmed to be a platonic archetypal realm that is beyond all dimensionality. This most likely puts it in a high outerversal ballpark while looking at the rest of the DZ cosmology I talked about, and things like Limbo and many other realms are far higher. I won't lie to you, I plan to do a full video on the DC cosmology when I get a better handle on DC scaling in the future, so I'm going to stop here and go over the feats I have for Superman. Superman is able to fight Magog casually while saving bystanders with 0 issues. Magog being a character who damaged Mixie, a 5th-dimensional imp, and the likes of President Superman. Note that President Superman destroyed Darkseid's chains that bound the multiverse, making it to where the Omniverse was no longer within his reach. And Superman clearly wasn't struggling with Magog at all. Superman is also capable of fighting beings amped by the Source, and when he was depowered on Warworld, he needed to absorb power from the Source, and it wasn't enough to give him the full power. Considering how powerful the Source is, this is actually insane. Some more feats and statements I have that I've mentioned before is the one where Superman slammed Darkseid when he had the anti-life equation, lifted the heavens for an extended period of time, shook the God Sphere with his steps, stopped the reality blitzing missiles, sterilizing the continuum, survived fighting the multitude despite it being a weapon from the fifth dimension, capable of killing fifth dimensional imps, and was able to resist Lex Luthor's BFR and revealed that the concepts like weight, temperature, distance, even space-time has lost meaning to him. And as I've shown with evidence, a single space-time within the orrery of worlds is low outerversal at least. So to talk about the World Forger feat, we have to actually look at the context. Superman was indeed helpless due to the deprivation of any suns he can use within the dimension World Forger created. However, what people don't seem to understand is while Batman did help him with the suns, it's not very hard for Superman to travel the infinite DC universe to collect power if he has to. However, that's if he has to. This feat shouldn't automatically be added. However, a feat that should be added is when he knocked out Barbatos. While Barbatos was chained down, it doesn't necessarily downgrade his durability. For example, if Superman was several infinities lower than him, or simply doesn't scale to him, then he wouldn't have been able to injure him even while he was chained up. Plus, if I remember correctly, I believe Superman was actually nerfed here. Now, for why this feat is impressive, Barbatos quite literally killed the World Forger, so he definitely scales to or above him. So speed arguments, I feel, is the easiest to argue for Superman. Like, seriously, if you manage to fuck up speed for Superman, then it's quite concerning. Superman himself literally said that he is beyond space-time, and space-time within the orrery of worlds contains infinite dimensions. And irrelevant speed is quite literally characters beyond dimensions on an outerversal scale. And there's many examples of this. And another feat I do want to mention is how Wally West outran the Speed Force. If we use the best scaling for Superman, then even if Wally is faster, he should at least be comparable. Now for Superman's hacks. It gets quite insane as I feel nobody actually knows much about this aspect of Superman. A lot of people say he's hacksless, and I personally think that's adorable. One of the more known examples is his immortality type 8. This is basically saying that as long as the concept of hope exists, Superman cannot die. There's also his resistance to plot manipulation and existence erasure, as shown when Mr. Nobody was manipulating Superman and Batman's reality, and when Dr. Manhattan himself, after trying, confirmed he can't actually destroy Superman's existence. He arguably has mid-godly regeneration because of what happened with Dr. Manhattan as well, but that's something to discuss at another time. He also has absorbed imaginary reality Pariah trapped him in, and even left his own story to me as editor, which potentially gives him Omni-Lock. I don't know much about the other hacks abilities than this, but the ones I've noticed so far are not usually included in Superman's normal kit of hacks. Rest like laser vision, frost breath, I'm sure everybody can remember. Now this may seem like a smaller video than what could be used to cover Superman, but do note I am still reading the comics and this is what I've learned so far, and the more competent in comic book scaling I get, the more I'll be able to make more accurate videos on these topics. But something I definitely have to say is people who say DC caps at the 6th-dimensional scale are just blatantly lying, and it's very clear that when not even viewing the entire cosmology, you can get Superman to high outerversal with irrelevant speed. Shout out to the guy who requested this video, he's on my screen right now. And everybody should like and subscribe, and there will be more videos coming out soon. Peace.